From the highest point of St Joseph's Farm, 320 metres above sea level, we can see the whole farm. While we look at the panoramic view that goes from east to west, we see that the land is undulating with broad valleys and low, gently sloping hills. The area is underlaid by fine-grained hornblende granite, exposed in a number of areas, but does not form any marked topographical features. Heavy red alluvial clays are the predominant soil types in the lower lying areas. These red clays relate to deposits of alluvium, which is made up of minerals deposited by rivers, chiefly in the lower parts of their courses. This ancient land is about 400 to 450 million years old and is from the Silurian period. In summer, there are regular dust storms. Mother Nature uses the natural draining system as a funnel, as you can see. The dust storm sweeps up the surface soil and carries it away. This valuable topsoil may not come to Earth again until it has been carried hundreds or even thousands of kilometres. Land which was unwisely cleared is permanently damaged. This land with its vegetation can't cope very well with hoofed animals like sheep, goats and horses. The natural vegetation has had to deal with this type of activity all over it. In summer, we get thunderstorms that are very local. The rain hits hard on the ground, and where the bush is cleared, it washes the soil away forever. Normally this rain goes into the ground in the bush because the rain hits the bush first, and by that time it drips and runs slowly into the ground. A wet yellow-throated myna is a common bird on the farm. This bird got caught in the rain. Puddles are formed and the Port Lincoln parrot takes the opportunity to dust off from the day's activity. It's vital to keep the feathers in good shape. Everywhere the puddles are forming, some are drained and evaporate quickly, but some are more substantial. After the rain at night, the frogs come out. The shoemaker frog is the most common frog you can see. All the frogs go to the puddles that the rain left behind. At the same time, the winged termites are also out and give the frogs plenty to eat. The shoemaker frog is a moderate, stout burrowing frog. It only comes out after 20 or more millimetres of rain. Less than that and the frogs could not come out of the burrow because the ground is too hard. The short respective tapping leading to the colloquial and specific name, shoemaker. The frog is a swimmer and the eggs are laid in static water like this and in clay pans. The larval stage occupies 40 days. The shoemaker frog is light yellow or golden above, with irregular brown blotches. It is white below. The skin is smooth above and below. The Goldfields bullfrog is also a burrowing frog. It's dark chocolate brown above with 5 distinctive narrow bright yellow vertebral stripes and a pair of yellow diverging lines commencing behind the head, so forming a W-shaped mark on each side of the body. The skin is smooth but granular above and smooth below. The Goldfields bullfrog, or Willsmore's frog as it is sometimes called, is common here after the rain and comes out with the shoemaker frog for breeding. There are other frogs on the farm, like the rare western spotted frog. The gunter toadlets are common. The humming frog can be seen all over the property. Being watched by a young tawny frogmouth, at dusk they become active. It's a silent hunter. Like many birds that feed on the ground, tawny frogmouths sit on a vantage point, scanning the ground and flying down at the slightest movement. We'll see its family later on during the day. This is a substantial body of water forming a small dam. It's part of a natural draining system. Here the frogs can breed. A close-up of the shoemaker frog. During the day you can see the irregular patches. Although normally a summer breeder, I've seen the frogs breed here in winter months. It not only breeds in clay pans, but in areas like this. Many of this species form a protective skin or a cocoon as a means of reducing water loss. We can see the bright yellow stripes along the body of the Willsmore frog. The eggs are laid in static water in clay pans, puddles and places like this. The shoemaker and the Willsmore tadpoles complete development in about 40 days. It's been shown that special sensitivity of frogs makes them a valuable indicator of environmental health. Small puddles cause trouble for the tadpoles. If there is no more rain, the water will evaporate soon. Many tadpoles did not make it because there was no more rain to top up the puddles. All these tadpoles died. Nature did not waste them. The birds came and fed on them. It was a rich harvest. The dry clay pan before the rain season. We'll come back to this clay pan when the water starts to flow from the land around it. If there is a good rainy season, the clay pan can be as deep as 1 metre in some places. Some of the mountain ducks are already here on the farm waiting for the rain to come. During the rain time, it's one of the best places for ducks, stilts and plovers to breed. The resurrection plant is one of the plants that cannot cope with hooved animals like sheep, goats and horses. They trample all over it. It just breaks up and disappears. The resurrection plant appears dead over the hot summer. It grows in open scrub land on decomposed granite breakaways. The plants start to go into a dormant state and colour into a rusty red. It doesn't come out of this until the first rains in May or June. The resurrection plant is so called because it resurrects itself after the first winter rains. At close-up, you can see the small ling-styled erect red flowers. This soporiferous shrub grows 2 metres wide and is common in Hidden Valley, which is to the south of the property. The plant was known before as Creeping Darwinia, but is now known as Charmelaucium repens. It was not seen for 33 years in Western Australia, but in 1987 it was found at Hidden Valley. Now the plants are known to grow in a number of places locally. This spectacular plant used to be common on the farm, and you can still see them here in some places. The wreath flower, as the plants are known here, are seen only during the wet season, growing annually from the perennial stock to a diameter of 50 or more centimetres. It is one of the casualties of clearing the land. The flowering plant has the appearance of a wreath with a leafy centre. It loses its leafy stem during the summer. In the early days, if someone died when these were in flower, the local people used a shovel to cut them from the ground and put the wreath on the grave. This handsome plant is common but confined to one cleared land on the farm. The bush pomegranate is also restricted to a small area around Mullewa. It grows to about 25 centimetres in height and can grow 60 centimetres in diameter. Old plants grow up to 1 metre in diameter. This densely branched shrub with many 8 to 10 millimetre long flowers grows among tall scrub. It's one of the shrubs confined to Western Australia. The upside down pea bush is essentially a plant of the desert. It is common here. The stems are rigid and wiry, ending in spine-like points. From the top you cannot see the flowers. The flowers are in basal racemes. The whole pea bush is covered by spinescent branches. It is one of the ways nature protects it in the harsh environment. Sundews are moisture-loving species adapted to the winter wet. It's a robust climber which trails over shrubs. The hairs are tipped with droplets of moisture that glisten in the sun. Should an insect touch some of these hairs, it holds it tight, while all the nearby hairs, responding to some stimulus, bend over towards the struggling victim and until it is firmly held. Sundews are carnivorous plants. When flowering, the trap is not active. There are a number of different sundews growing here. The trigger plant firmly belongs to a different division of the vegetable kingdom. There are 6 species of trigger plant growing in Tarden. One of them is the yellow trigger plant. Yellow trigger plants are seen at Hidden Valley. The trigger is bent backwards between 2 petals, ready to go when an insect goes to the centre of the flower. The trigger snaps instantly across the centre and hits the insect on the back with the pollen. In a period of 4 minutes, the spring column bends backwards and resets itself, ready for the next touch. After the long dry summer, the paddocks are bare. Not much happens during this time of the year, when it is the domain of snakes and lizards, mainly in the coolness of the night. The little vegetation that is left protects the soil from blowing away. Just before the wet season starts in May, the first nest of the season appears. It's the nest of the Australian dotterel, one of the most perfectly camouflaged ground birds in the world. During the day, the dotterels stand about in the sun or in the shade of shrubs and grass tufts, dozing and preening alternately. These birds are mainly nocturnal. As soon as the sun goes down, they start to run around, feeding, chasing each other and dust bathing. They eat plants and sometimes insects. The Australian dotterel's habit of covering its eggs when it leaves the nest is unique among Australian plovers. This conceals the eggs and may protect them from the heat of the sun. In May, the first rain clouds appear on the horizon. That doesn't mean it will be a good season though. One of the common birds enjoys the first rains, washing away the dust. The galahs put on some antics, some are better than others. Soon the galahs will pair up to start the breeding program. Let's watch this rain on the land. It's an occasion that is not common during the year. After the rain and good runoffs at some places on the farm, it forms a substantial pool of water. Here the frogs begin their breeding program. It's also an indication that this water is healthy. The fossil record shows us that of all the living types of dragonflies, the little damselflies are the most ancient. The damselfly, showing the different positioning of its wings compared to the dragonfly. Instead of the wings being held out stiffly, the damselfly holds them close over the abdomen. The wings and bodies of this group are more delicate and slender than those of dragonflies. The more brightly coloured damselflies hunt by dashing from perch to catch other insects. Australia has 92 species of damselflies, which thrive in this freshwater habitat. Australia has 156 species of dragonflies. The male are often brilliantly coloured, with blue like the powder blue you can see, green or yellow on their bodies. The larger dragonflies will often patrol a regular beat, hawking any insect prey smaller than themselves. All prey is caught in the air in a basket made by folding the legs together, and most prey is eaten in flight. The two pairs of wings are almost perfectly synchronized, so that these insects can twist and turn, hover, and make dashes at speeds up to 50 kilometers an hour. Unable to fold their wings, dragonflies rest with their wings held out flat. These wings are membranous and are supported by an intricate lacework of veins. The wood duck prefers to live in lightly timbered country near water like this. The wood duck is shy and wary and is certain to spot an observer first. When left alone, the ducks are more regular in their habits and movements here on the farm than some other ducks that come after the rains, like the white-eyed ducks, shovelers, and the black ducks. Wood ducks seldom swim, but spend much of their time on the land in camps near water. The mountain ducks are web-footed birds, typically with flattened bills, and arrive on the farm dam. This is the only dam on the farm. Contrary to its popular name, most mountain ducks do not live or breed in high places. Here on the farm, the ducks breed about 300 metres above sea level. They are one of the earlier ducks that come here to breed after the rain. The call is a loud honk. The call of the female is very much a higher pitch than that of the male. Nesting takes place in winter or early spring, and the birds normally use a hole in a tall tree. This bush grows nearby, and the trees they use are mainly York gums. 10 to 14 eggs appear to be a normal clutch. Mountain ducks are large birds with wingspans of about 115 centimetres and a weight of 1 to 2 kilograms. The male is slightly larger than the female. Here you see the female going for a drink. Females have a black head and upper neck. There is a white collar under the neck, and both the lower neck and chest are a rich chestnut. The female also has white around the eyes and at the base of the beak and the chin. The secondary coverts of the wing of both sexes are white, and these show very prominently when the bird is in flight. Food is variable depending on the locality. In freshwater lakes or dams, water insects are taken. In wheat paddocks, mountain ducks become something of a pest, feeding on newly germinated crops, but not here because of the small number. The grey teal is one of the regulars after the rain when the water holes, dam and the clay pans are filling with water. Here at the dam, the grey teal do not breed, only at the clay pan. The grey teal is not a particularly striking bird with its plumage in shades of grey-brown. Grey teal is mainly a bird of freshwater habitats and is found in all suitable areas of wetland. The duck is also typical of the dabbling ducks. It tips up in shallow water to feed on the bottom, or else takes seeds from plants in or above the water. The grey teal breeding depends to a large extent on suitable conditions. Here, with the winter rainfall, it's mainly a winter-spring activity. Nest sites are variable and may be in a tree hollow or a slight depression in the ground in long grass. Some have been found in rabbit burrows. The clutch size varies from 6 to 12. The little grebe is irregular in this area, but not so common on the farm. The little grebe is the best known of the family in the country, and most children call it the dab chick. At close quarters it can be distinguished by the yellow spot between the eye and the base of the beak. Although at first sight it looks like a small duck, it can be recognised by the fact that it floats higher in the water than most ducks. The magpie larks are common in certain places on the farm. The diet of the magpie lark consists of small animals such as land molluscs, and most importantly, as far as man is concerned, large quantities of insects and their larvae. The huge number of these birds in Australia must have a significant effect in keeping down the numbers of potentially harmful insects in agricultural areas. Altogether, this bright, friendly black and white bird embodies that combination of features which are unfortunately all too rare in our fauna. At the dam, it is top real estate for a pair of magpie larks. They need mud to make their nest. The magpie lark gathers pellets of mud strengthened with bits of grass and cemented together with liquid mud. The large bowl-shaped nest is about 16 centimetres across. The bird lays between 3 and 6 attractively coloured eggs. They are white to reddish browning white, blotched with purple red and a slate grey. A magpie lark nests high in a gum tree. On the farm, the mud of the nest is often rich brown colour of the soils. This bird is also called a mudlark or peewee, but the accepted common name is the magpie lark. On the water's edge, the young magpie lark looks for a feed from the adult, but it's old enough to look after its own feed. The name magpie lark was given to this bird originally because of its similarity in markings to the magpie. The term lark is in the bird's name has not been explained in reference books. It does have a likeness to the magpie, but the magpie lark is much more active than the magpie, especially in its brisk walk. It's smaller at about 26 centimetres. It has a peculiar flight with a heavy flapping action of the wing. This claypan was surrounded by native bush before some of it was cleared in 1928. At the bottom is a layer of clay that holds the water in up until October. The sea tassel is an aquatic perennial growing from rhizomes. The leaves can be submerged or floating. This grass-looking plant grows in the claypan every year. Here we see the grey teal. This is their breeding place. Before the country was cleared, the trees were alive because the water that did run into this claypan was fresh. Now it's brackish and the trees died. It would have been an oasis at that time, with lots of ducks breeding here protected by the bush that was growing around it. There's still a number of ducks and other water birds that come here for breeding after the first rains in May. A pair of mountain ducks arrive also for breeding. They are not in big numbers. The trees that grow nearby in the bush are their nesting sites. The pair selects the nest site together. They usually nest in the hollow limb of tall trees. While the female is incubating the eggs, the male establishes a separate territory where the young will be reared and defends it against other mountain ducks. When the young are hatched, they are led overland to the male's territory and the family is reunited there. Mated pairs return to the same nest year after year. This is not a good year for the rain season, and the grey teals and mountain ducks are not breeding. There's not enough rain to fill the claypan. There has to be a certain amount of water for them to start breeding because the young ducklings have to be able to fly before the water evaporates. The little falcon sitting on a dead tree looking over its hunting territory, which in this case is the claypan. The falcon is common on the farm and you can see the birds with no difficulty. The little falcon, or Australian hobby, is a smaller version of the peregrine falcon. In both species, the females are at the larger end of the scale. Insects are most important in the diet of the little falcon, and it can hover to catch these. In the early 1900s, J.A. Leach wrote, "Our little falcon is, for its size, the boldest and swiftest of all birds of prey. It has been observed to decapitate on the wing a flying duck. It kills birds as large as a galah, though smaller perching birds such as finches make up most of its food. At dusk, it hunts for bats. They are common here too." In the paddocks around the claypan at this time of the season, and among the wildflowers, the banded plover's nest. It's a common bird arriving after the first rains. Here you see the nest of the banded plover with 2 eggs. It's a simple construction. The Australian plovers are now grouped with the English lapwing plovers in the genus Vanellus. Like most of the birds of this order of waders, the parents lead the chicks away from the nest soon after hatching. The most noticeable feature about the nesting of the banded plover is the strong defence of the site. If a number of birds are nesting close together, all the nearby pairs join in the defence of the territory. Any bird sitting on a nest does not fly directly up from the spot, since this would disclose the nest's position. At the beginning of this program, we met the tawny frogmouth watching us at night. Now we see it nesting. It's a common bird here. By night, they become alert and hunt for food. Most of its food is gathered on the ground and includes insects and small animals such as mice. This extraordinary order of birds includes the frogmouth, nightjars, and owlet nightjars. These are all found on the farm. The nest is a flimsy platform of sticks. With its protective coloration, the bird merges into the tree trunk, so such nests are difficult to find. In general, these birds are spring breeders. 2 elliptical white eggs are laid. So flat is the nest that these are sometimes blown out. The same fate happens at times to the small chicks. This frogmouth has only 1 chick. What happened to the other? In the next program, we will see more of the frogmouth and the young. Evening falls on the monastery. And as the new moon rises, we say goodbye to the wildlife on St Joseph's Farm, Tarden, Western Australia, for now.